Hello students, welcome to week 4 for COM 505. We are at the halfway point in the course, so you should feel very proud of the progress you've made thus far. We are looking at new models of human communication and exploring some options and things that we'll be working on at the midterm point in the course. We're reading chapters 6 and 7 this week. You'll notice I have you only focusing on one particular theory and then looking more at how the Christian communication is formed and what that exploration is like. And that's designed because we have a significant assignment this week with our midterm project. So I want you spending most of your time on that as opposed to exploring theories and really grappling with those ideas. With that, you have your discussion board number 4 due on Friday, with your discussion replies due on Sunday, as well as your communication theory map due on Sunday, which is your midterm. If you look at the weekly objectives, we are discussing theories that relate to the relationship and models of human communication, as well as examining the extension of communication to include interactions between humans and other beings, and animate or inanimate, as well as explaining the rationale to include and illustrate 4 specific extensions of theory beyond human to human communication. With that, we are accomplishing objective 1.1, 2.2, and 3.2 in the course text. The midterm for the communication theory map is designed for you to map out the field of communication in an organized fashion. Really what it's used for is communication scholars are often asked to map out their perspective of how they see all of the theories in communication fit into a nice bubble. And so to do this, we map it out. There's many different ways to do that. The process really helps scholars understand similarities and patterns in communication, as well as providing opportunity for you to evaluate and synthesize communication theories in your own way. So you know about the traditions, we've gone through them, the 7 traditions. We've also looked at communication from a contextual basis. That's the way in which Littlejohn and Foss organized their text. They organize communication theories by the context in which they occur, whereas Craig and Mueller look at it from the traditional base, looking at it from a tradition, the 7 traditions. So with that, it's important that you see and that you understand and organize your map to include all of the 7 traditions. You're creating a visual presentation of this, so you can get creative and look at it in ways that you would like to. I've had students organize the theories as a puzzle, and each tradition fits a piece of the puzzle. I've had them organize their map using an Excel sheet with lines and things to attach it and making it look like a word cloud or a process chart or something of that nature that you would see like in an organization. I've had them illustrate it using clouds as a map, utilizing countries that represent the traditions. I've had many different ways. The important thing is to know that this is a visual presentation. You can also do this through Prezi. Prezi has a great way of organizing things like that. What you'll be doing is including the 7 traditions as well as 3 theories from each for each field or tradition and concept. So I'm looking for 3 theories within each tradition for you to present and discuss. The visual presentation will be created through YouTube, screencast, or VoiceThread. You will need to have audio at minimum. It is encouraged you have some type of video also, like projecting your face or something like that. However, all that is required is the audio portion. This lecture is a screencast lecture. I open a PowerPoint, I use screencast to record my screen, and I do a voiceover of my lecture. You can utilize VoiceThread if you'd like, or you can if you have another idea, you can run it by me, but it needs to be one of those 3 ideas unless you have permission. After that, you will write a 3 to 4 page paper that explains your map of the field. So I'm going to watch the video audio presentation you create. Then I'm also going to watch read the 3 to 4 page paper rather, and look for the correlation. The paper really is the justification of what you've done. It tells me why you organized the traditions in the way they did. If you did a hierarchy, it explains why you ordered the hierarchy the way it did. It explained why you made it a puzzle or another thing if you did something else. It's completely up to you with that. I want it to be also reflective, and meaning that you've provided some reflection of the learning process and have at least 5 outside sources. Now that shouldn't be an issue on the sources, because if you have at least 3 theories per tradition, then you're going to have multiple outside sources to justify those theories. You're going to post a link to your presentation in the abstract of your APA formatted paper and include the hyperlink in there so it's easy for me to just click and open it and see. If you do not turn in a link to your presentation and a paper, you will be deducted. Both of them are required. So you will be missing out on half the points if all you do is a paper describing it without a presentation. And if all you do is a presentation and not a paper, you'll be only eligible for about half the points also. So do keep that in mind. This is really designed to be creative. I want to see how you would organize the field or discipline based off of what you see best and how you see best. So do keep that in mind. The next thing we are focusing on is our discussion number 4. When we look at discussion number 4, remember we are writing a minimum of 500 words that in our original post, and each reply post is 250 words in length. Do keep in mind that as you work through that, I'm looking at your ideas to be synthesized based off the videos we're watching on Christian communication. I want you to watch all 3 of those videos and answer 3 questions. I want you to identify what the nature and purpose of Christian communication is and discuss the importance of accepting the gift of Christian communication, in addition to why we should listen to the reality of this in the context of Christian communication and what that means. So as you work through that, I'm looking for your ideas on that and what it relates to the text and what your personal thoughts are on that concept. As you develop your post, I am looking to see what your personal thoughts are on the videos, as well as the general idea and principle of looking at Christian communication as a model of communication theory. There has been some extensions to communication theory and thoughts of exploring religion as a tradition and looking at that from a Christianity perspective as developing theories related to communication and faith. So I was just wanting to get your ideas and looking at seeing how you may process this and what you would see this envisioning, how you would envision this to be from that perspective. We're spending some time this week looking at communication privacy management theory. This theory was developed primarily by Sandra Petrino. There are some other scholars that are associated with it, but she's the primary scholar and usually the voice of it. You're going to watch an interview with her this week on this theory. Communication privacy management theory is relatively new to our scholarly area of communication, coming from the sense that it's really an extension and pulled out of social penetration theory. So what Petrino did is she did a lot of research related to social penetration theory and found that there were extensions made beyond the theory, was able to prove through scholarship that there is an actual new theoretical model called communication privacy management. Communication privacy management theory is often referred to as CPM, and it argues that disclosure is the process by which we give or receive private information. Private information is simply what people reveal to others in many different settings. Generally, CPM argues that individuals believe they own their own private information and have the right to control that said information. So our suppositions, our arguments, our notions are that we have private information and we have ownership over that. However, we also feel as humans that management of private information is not necessary until others are involved. So we don't have to manage private information until it comes to communicating that private information. CPM does not limit an understanding of disclosure by framing it is as only about the self. So we're only looking at it related to ourself. Instead, CPM theory points out that when management is needed, others give co-ownership status, thereby expanding the notion of disclosing information. The theory uses the metaphor of privacy boundaries to illustrate where private information is located, how the boundary expands to accommodate multiple owners of private information, and how to disclose that information. In a nutshell, it's saying that you can assign co-owners to people that have ownership to that particular private information and have the authority to also share that and manage that privacy related to that communication. So for example, if I'm harboring a deep secret that my sister confided in me, she has given me ownership in managing this private information with her and knows that I will not spread it. Now, if I violated that agreement, then I would spread or say or communicate that to somebody else. So as we communicate with people, and as this relates to social penetration theory is about peeling back the layers of intimacy and getting to the core of being intimate with individuals. They go hand in hand. How we manage private information and what we disclose to others is also related to how close we feel to them. So it does consider the everyday decisions we make about how much information we disclose and what we keep private. Making decisions to disclose or protect information often can create tension in which individuals facilitate between sharing and concealing their private information. Within the purview of many different issues, but particularly health-related issues, these decisions have the potential to increase or decrease risk in communicative situations. The choice of, for example, the choice of disclosing health matters to a friend can garner social support to cope with health problems. But at the same time, the individual may have concerns that his or her friend might tell someone else about the health problem, thus causing more difficulties and management of this private information. So it's important that we understand the tension between disclosing and protecting information that is given to us and respecting the owner. By respecting and protecting the owner is only one side of the coin, because disclosure really creates co-owners. So by disclosing information, it means that we've given ownership to that information to others. So these co-owners, whether it be family, friends, or partners, often feel that they have the right to know about their partner's concerns, meaning that you have very little privacy when it comes to things like that. The privacy boundaries are used metaphorically to indicate where private information is located. Individuals have both personal privacy boundaries around information in their life that expands to include other authorized co-owners, but once given the status of withholding to protect part of private information can also risk relationships and interfere with various other relational needs. So within the scheme of disclosing information, it's important to know that disclosures, risk, and privacy predicaments are not experienced exclusively by an individual. Rather, these risks prevail for a number of individuals that come in contact with others going through very different relationships and various co-owners, people's families, supportive friends, etc. When everyone involved has a dual role, for example, it can create a situation where there are a number of circumstances that leads to risk related to privacy management and decisions on whether to reveal or conceal information. What this is getting at is that it's a rules-based theory. It relies on suppositions and not presuppositions. Privacy characteristics and boundary coordination is completed in the process of managing that information based off of who we give ownership to some of our private information and who we choose not to give ownership to. So what I tell my spouse may be something significantly different than what I tell my employer about my health or about my thoughts about my job or my career or whatever it may be, etc., etc. So how we manage this information really determines on how we disclose it to others. What we choose to disclose or not disclose will be very telling in terms of how we manage our information we receive for a number of different ideas. So this is just one theory that we're looking at in particular, obviously this term, but we're spending a lot of time on this week. It does also relate a little bit to the Christian communicator, which I want you to spend some time exploring. As we wrap things up, do keep in mind we are reading chapter 6 and 7. We're watching a series of videos related to Christian communication and communication privacy management. We are also completing discussion board number 4, as well as the communication theory map. If you have any questions, let me know. I hope you all have a blessed week, and I am proud of the effort you've made at this point. After this week is complete, you will be moving into the second half of the course and should feel very, very proud of that effort. If you need anything, please reach out. I look forward to interacting with you. I pray you all have a blessed week, and God bless.